Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by PlayEDH, which is the largest Discord server for webcam EDH games, and we'll take a look at them a little bit later on. First off, an apology. I'm at the point of moving where my lamps have now migrated to the new apartment, so tracking of me is going to be a little bit worse today, but the show's got to go on. All right, so Lucas B gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list with just the request, make it spicy. Well, Lucas, how does Legacy Heartless Summoning sound to you? That spicy enough, meatball? I thought so. So, this makes your creature spells cost 2 colorless less to cast, but creatures you control get -1, -1. And there's a couple of different things going on here. Number one, the hope is that this can make your initiative creatures cheaper and more consistent to cast. The mono black ones aren't necessarily quite as strong as, say, Seasoned Dungeoneer or Caves of Chaos Adventurer, but Passageway Seer in particular is still fully a viable legacy card. A scaling lifelinker that takes the initiative is totally reasonable. Number two, you're hoping that it can make some cards that are very strong in Legacy but a little slow into more reasonable cards. A Shouldered at 4 mana is good. A Shouldered at 2 mana, that absolutely slaps. Now, this isn't going to discount all of our creatures because some of them have a large number of black pips in them, but it's going to get a lot of them. And it turns Archon of Cruelty into something that is feasibly hard castable come the end game. But this card isn't in here for fair reasons. It's in here so that when we complete the Undercity, we have something big to hit. Speaking of, we also have another way to do that. Gyruda, Doom of Depths. It's a companion. That is our effective commander for the Legacy format. And it has a restriction that our starting deck only contains cards with even mana values. No Dark Ritual here, so no worries. When it enters the battlefield, each player mills 4 cards. Put a creature card with an even mana value from among the milled cards onto the battlefield under your control. So the idea is when you play Gyruda, you are usually going to either take the initiative or find a large creature that has a massive effect on the game. And guess what? If your Heartless Summoning discounts the cost of this becomes so much more reasonable to do in the early game. I just pulled a 5-0 deck list for this one. The only change I made was splitting the swamps and snow-covered swamps because some people are messing around with predict right now, and that matters for when they blind predict targeting you. You have 5 hits for something, cool. You have 10 hits for something, you're starting to sweat bullets a little bit. As far as our removal suite goes, we're focusing on 2 things. We're focusing on the 0 mana investment Snuff Out, and then Sudden Edict out of the sideboard. We can't play some things like, say, Fatal Push or maybe Dismember in this deck list because of the restriction of our companion. Other than that, you'll probably recognize most of the cards here, except maybe Damping Sphere. This is a hate card for decks like, say, Storm, that sees a little bit of legacy play. I was really excited when I saw this one in the 5-0 deck list dump. Hopefully we can put up some wins with it, or at the very least make some entertaining content. Alright, if you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing, and if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It is the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay. I have sort of an interesting turn 1 decision with this hand. Like, the hand is certainly a keep. It's just weird because I have to decide whether this is a Chalice of the Void game or a Hymn to Turok game immediately. My opponent has seen my revealed companion and immediately responded, "That's scary." I think on the play here, I'm going to attempt Chalice of the Void. And the reason I'm going to do this is specifically, if I draw Urborg, I can still Hymn to Turok on turn 2. Damn, I really wanted it to happen. Okay, so this thing's gonna come hang out with me here. And then we'll kind of decide what to do next. My Chalice just gonna eat a Prismatic Ending. I'm more scared of Stoneforge Mystic than I am Prismatic Ending. I think I take a turn off to Hymn to Turok. I'm not 100% sure. I have 0 games in with this deck list. But eliminating interaction that my opponent can have, or randomly hitting their land drops, or randomly taking away a Teferi, like all those things sound very good to me. Okay. That's no shuffle there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can play Heartless Summoning and something else this turn. I think I'm going to go ahead and do... Yeah. Alright, it's in play. I think this one is the bait spell. This one dodges a lightning bolt right now. A little weird, though, because this doesn't actually have power right now. Alright, I'm in play. I'm a little scared of, like, end of turn Snapcaster Mage into removal spells specifically. But I have 1 or 2 more ways to take the initiative, so hopefully it's okay. Alright, no end of turn swords after that brainstorm. Staff of the Storyteller, sure. So the initiative is going to be contested. I am going to go ahead and go down the Forge side. Another Vicious Battle Rager. Most excellent. Go ahead and crash. Oh, sorry. I should scroll over this. This is a new enough card that I should show this to you all. Sorry about that. All right. Opponent goes to 17. I think I want to do this. Gyruda. All right. Immediate Force of Will. Pitching Predict. My decision seems good. An ow. Go ahead and follow it up with a Passageway Seer. Go ahead and trap my opponent for 5 life. And then at end of turn, Passageway Seer scales up by 1. So the Scary World is the world in which my opponent takes the initiative and then Supreme Verdicts me, and also has Force of Will backup. That's the Scary World. That requires so many things to go well, though. Okay, sure. Swords as well? Swords as well. Luckily, I don't care about that. Both of these cost 2 mana. I guess I do this one first. I'll take the initiative. Draw my card. Oh my god. Yes. I will take 2 more. Go ahead and take the initiative again. And then look at the top 10. What all does this do? Yeah, we'll take one of those. Alright, the Teferi is down. Ooh, I'll just cast that next turn. Do I actually play this next one? I just have Archon of Cruelty next turn if my opponent randomly board wipes, so yeah, I think I do. Another basic land. Now, sort of a board wipe. No amount of 1-for-1 removal spells gets my opponent out of this. It just has to be a board wipe. Well, this is a hell of a good showing here for game 1. Yeah, I don't know what you're digging for. Yep. I don't know that I'm going to sideboard here. Like, I can technically board in something like a Null Rod or Staff of the Storyteller. I don't know that that's better than just keeping all the cards that are in my main deck. I think I'm just going to whack the submit button. This hand has a turn 1 Chalice, but no black sources. I don't think I'm interested in that. The second hand is much slower than I would like, but I'm going to keep this. Oh, there's baubles in there. Seems good. Maybe an indication that my opponent has something like Terminus. Okay. Swamp pass. Next turn I'll have to think about whether or not I want to Chalice or Hymn to Torok first. I think I'm going to want to Hymn to Torok first. Hymn to Torok has a chance to take a Prismatic Ending or Teferi that would get the Chalice out of play. The staff has arrived. Alright. Oh, okay. Given that I have a gajillion Chalices now, I'm going to just start ramming these out there and hope that one of them eventually sticks. My hand isn't super good right now. Okay, yep. And I'll take some chip damage. We're just gonna keep repeating Chalice until it works. The hope is that if I get a Chalice that sticks, I can mitigate some of the power of, like, cantrips in my opponent's deck and protect my future threats. I don't have something like a Plague Engineer in my deck to just randomly get rid of all of the tokens. My initiative stuff gets a bit worse. I don't think I'm in the position to Chalice on 2, unfortunately. This turn is very difficult. I think this turn is a setup turn still. And I attempt another Hymn to Turok, force pitching a Brainstorm, and I think I'm going to take 2 to deploy a second Chalice on 1. That way, like, the cantrips are for real shut off. Because now it takes some sort of, like, meltdown level card to clear those. Oh shit, there is a Stoneforge package in there. That's not great for me. I would love to draw another black source here. I'm quite dead. I can't kick this for the +1/+1 counters that I need. I think the way that I gain the most percentage points here is by making my opponent fear a Helm of Obedience combo for future games. Alternatively, I can kick a Turok and then find something wild with Douthie Voidwalker. Okay, there's a card. Oh, okay. So this is a fun, air quotes, combo. When you play your second Staff of the Storyteller, it does put a counter on both of them. Sure. Then I'm eating 5 damage in combat. Yeah, I am not in a position to win here. I am comfortable conceding at this point. Now that I have confirmed that my opponent also has a Stoneforge Mystic package, do I want Null Rod? The answer is probably no, because Null Rod doesn't stop the important part of some of my opponent's cards. This game might go long enough where I don't need Heartless Summoning. Game might go long enough that I don't need Heartless Summoning. And I can just play for Sudden Edict. Also, in that game, it might have been better for me to not play Douthie Voidwalker and instead to put Gyruda into my hand and hope to specifically hit an Archon off my 4 cards. Turn 2 Vicious Battle Rager. Alright. I'm not excited about it. But I don't think the hand is worth mulliganing. Swamp Go? Alright. I believe I slow the game down to do that. And I specifically believe that's correct because I already have a removal spell set for something like a turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think I 100% have to just go aggro here. Plus, if I drag this game on to the point where I don't have to throw away one of my cards to a Chrome Mox, that is a benefit for me. Alright, am I getting Stoneforged? No. This is targeting. Oh, sorry. I just assumed the Bobble was getting cracked. Okay. Bobble targets me. That's a Stoneforge Mystic. Presumably finding a Caldra. Yep. Now I'll go ahead and snuff that out. Fantastic. Unless my opponent's top card here is a counterspell, whatever I do this turn is going to resolve. Seems like initiative is just the correct thing to do here. Yeah. Grab my basic land. Already made my land drop. My Chalice going bye-bye. My Chalice is going bye-bye. I think since I guaranteed at least get 2 damage out of Forge, I am just going to go down that side. Okay. Yeah. Bash in for 3. Opponent goes to 15. I will drop a Douthie Voidwalker, so now a 1-for-1 removal spell doesn't necessarily leave me in a bad spot. I'll still have pressure. Sure. Ooh. Okay. Do I want to cut diagonal here? I don't think so. I think I'll just take an extra card next turn. Take the 5 damage. A new Douthie Voidwalker. That is wonderful for me. Every single bit of pressure matters so much here. Also, my opponent giving me, like, 6 life or whatever it was to reset my life total. Kind of a big deal. All right. I get a card. All right. I will make a land drop. What's in exile right now? Swords to Plowshares is currently in exile. Turn is quite difficult. I think I attempt to kick this pre-combat. All right. Oh, dress down's awkward. Okay. I guess I'm happy that that happened to Turok and not to Gyruda. But I had very different looking plans in my mind for how this turn was going to go. So Supreme Verdict could happen here and clear both of these creatures in a way that would be pretty annoying for me. If that doesn't happen, I have 2 evasive creatures that are quite strong. Stoneforge is fine. Finding a Batter Skull. And a turn dress down's annoying. Go ahead and snuff this out now. That way I know whether or not I need to sudden edict it away on my own turn. So Throne of the Dead 3 is going to happen. Eldred is a great pickup. Because that effectively just kills my opponent on their draw step. Alright, we have gotten the GG from my opponent. This deck is really neat, folks. I like this a lot. Today's video is sponsored by PlayEDH. You can find them at playedh.com, which will link to their Discord server, which is the largest Discord server for finding Commander/EDH webcam games. And what's really neat about them is that they will give you personalized ratings of your deck so you can pair with appropriate players. In addition, on May 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing a discussion on their Discord about like similarities between Legacy and EDH and deck building in the two. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern on May 3rd, I'm going to be doing a stream with them so you can see me in action. So consider checking them out. Okay, my hand is a keep. The question is, how am I playing it? I think I am Chrome Moxing the Snuff out in a vacuum here before I know what my opponent is doing. And we'll just generically lead with Chalice on 1. My ideal curve is Chalice into Douthie Voidwalker into Turok kicked. As a kicked Turok while Douthie Voidwalker in play is really strong. Oh, it looks like we have probably put our Chalice in the wrong number for this matchup. That is a great draw, though. I have good cards in hand if I hit my next mana source. So we'll see how much my 2 pieces of soft interaction helps me. Okay. So I don't know exactly what my opponent is playing here. It is possible that they are playing an initiative deck and they kept a Dark Ritual based hand, and it's also possible that they are playing a Storm-ish deck. Okay. I have a pretty good idea of what my opponent is playing. They are apparently a very well-known Oops All Spells player. I thought I recognized that name, which is why I checked. The Leyline's in, Damping Sphere in, Null Rod in. That's 10 cards. I don't need to get cute with Archon of Cruelty here. I don't need Heartless Summoning here. The plan is just lock my opponent out and then win somehow. How much does Snuff Out do? Non-black creature, specifically, so not a lot. They're not going to bring in Xanted Swarm versus me. Can technically kill a Spirit Guide or a Wild Cantor or something. This is probably just worse than something like Heartless Summoning. Or do I just want 2 Archons in my deck? No, I'll play 2 Heartless Summoning to help me get that bridge from 2 to 4 mana for things like Sheoldred. This is a turn 1 Douthie Voidwalker if I don't get Thoughtseized, or a turn 1 Hymn to Turok if I draw any black card and I do get Thoughtseized. I'm gonna ship this one when I'm on the draw. A Leyline hand is just so strong. I think I keep this. It is a weird ass hand, but I think I keep it. My opponent is probably mulliganing to a Force of Vigor, assuming that I am mulliganing to Leyline. So I play out a Null Rod, they get rid of it, and then I play out something else as a follow-up. I don't think I can get greedy and not do this. I think I just have to do this still. It makes my turn 2 a bit awkward. And there are some hands that this doesn't shut down that just have multiple regular old rituals. Alright. This is a little bit of an awkward turn, but I get just an extra card in hand. And then I get to start actually disrupting my opponent as of next turn. Ooh, but I might die this turn. I mean, I most certainly do if they did that right. Yep. Okay, and they have the Spirit Guide to finish going off. Yep, that's fine. So if you're not familiar with this combo, how it works is they are going to return a bunch of Narcomoebas from Graveyard. They are going to then cast Dread Return, targeting Thassa's Oracle, and they win the game. That's okay. I think when I'm on the play, I'm going to get rid of 2 Heartless Summoning for 2 Sudden Edicts. That way I have lines for when my opponent plays out Balustrades by and passes the turn. Yeah, I will be keeping this hand. I believe I start on Leyline of the Void, and then play Urborg and pass the turn. And then I Hymn to Turok my opponent next turn, rather than let both Null Rod and Leyline of the Void immediately eat it to Force of Vigor. Because I still just have good lines here if I am Thought Seized. Okay. Evoked Foundation Breaker. Sure. Okay. Now, I don't have the matchup experience to know whether Null Rod or Hymn to Turok is stronger here. My opponent doesn't have any starting black mana that I can see right now, which makes Null Rod really strong, but Hymn to Turok always hits 2 cards. I think I am just hymning here. Oop. Hymn to Turok. Reanimate. And a black mana source. Ooh, they have another black mana source. I don't want to take the initiative this turn. I want to set up a safety net. The lands that I have are kind of awkward. I don't think I need to put Gyruda into my hand right now. Go ahead and start trying to get off some mana. And next turn I can drop a Passageway Seer. Hoping to draw another land that's not Urborg. Okay. Hey, it's a land that's not Urborg. That's 2 mana. Gets me to 4. And I can start playing Passageway Seer as something that is going to scale up. I don't really have enough protection right now. I'd really like to draw a Leyline or a Dalthy Voidwalker or something, because a ritual into the appropriate cards can just kill me some portion of the time. So like Damping Sphere, Leyline of the Void, those sorts of things. Hymn to Turoks are the sorts of draws that I am looking for right now. I will accelerate my clock relatively quickly, though, which is a good thing. So this brings my opponent to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. This leaves my opponent dead on board next turn. But I think I'm only about 50-50 to win from this position. So that drains him to 7. At my end step, this scales up by 1, leaving me with the 7 that I need to have lethal next turn. I have lethal through a Simian Spirit Guide blocker. Okay, there's Force of Vigor. My opponent's got 2 cards. Kill is very possible. But we lucked out. GG's. This is a very good 6-card hand. I will keep this. I'm hoping to determine on turn 1 whether it's likely that my opponent is playing a Wasteland deck, because that helps me with my sequencing a lot. Oh, and just basic lands. Basic lands are sweet. End of turn Brainstorm is fine. There's a very good chance my opponent is playing Delver. Like, there are other things like Sneak and Show that could happen. Show and Tell would actually be pretty okay for me right now. Yes. Yes. Fucking do it. Fucking do it. Put in a creature. Put in a creature. I dare you. I fucking dare you. Damn it. It was Omniscience instead. Son of a bitch. Alright. I have no outs to that, right? Like, And oh, and Cunning Wish. Yes, absolutely. Firemind's Foresight. Okay, I'm gonna let them show this off in case you haven't seen this before. This is kind of cool. So this lets you search for something with CMC 3, 2, and 1 and put them all into your hand. And then they get to dig relatively deep. They will Cunning Wish again. There's Trick Bind. Now, Trick Bind is going to stop me from doing anything cool with something like an Archon trigger. But my opponent just has an extra turn anyway. So they just attack, obliterate all my stuff, and I am comfortable conceding. Man, if they don't have the Omniscience there, I just full out win that game. Stuff out's not great versus basically anything over there. I think I'm going to swap those for 4 Sudden Edicts. I don't know that I really want to run Damping Sphere or Null Rod. They technically do things, but getting my opponent dead might be more important here, at least when I'm on the play. This gets a no from me. This doesn't disrupt my opponent early, and this doesn't beat a show and tell a decent portion of the time. Yikes. This sometimes beats show and tell to end creature. I don't think this is good enough. If I spike the land, is this good enough? That's the 5. Or alternatively, that's the 5. Or alternatively, do something where I keep... No, I don't think that's viable. I'm going to keep this. This has the potential to win a game if I draw a swamp in my next 2 draws. I have insurance versus a fast show and tell. I'll still be bad versus sneak attack. But there is hope here. Any land or a Chrome Mox. I think we're a little sub 50% to hit. Alright, we do miss. That's life, though. Opponent is chilling. I have missed again. And now my opponent's cantripping is going to begin. Alright, am I eating show and tell immediately? Oh. Okay. That's fine. I think my opponent thinks I'm Reanimator. Which is a fair assessment. Let's start trying to disrupt my opponent. I need to try a stopped sneak attack plus activate from happening. Force pitching Omniscience. So this is the turn where they can go like land drop, sneak attack, activate, Emrakul or something. There is the sneak attack. Ooh. Passing the turn. So, if I sudden edict and my opponent has something like a Grizzlebrand or an Atraxa, it goes super poorly for me. If I sneak attack, if I hold up sudden edict and they have Emrakul, it goes very well for me. If I hymn to Turok and I hit their creature, I can then hold up sudden edict in future turns. I think, and this isn't quite correct math, but if for some reason they had an equal split of Emrakuls, Atraxas, and Grizzlebrands, which they probably don't, but Sudden Edict is bad against 2 out of those 3. I think I am supposed to hymn to Turok accordingly. Alright. Sudden Edict is bad versus the additional Force of Will. Or sorry, hymn to Turok is bad against the additional Force of Will. Let's see if I'm dead. Okay, holding up sudden... Oh, never mind. Yeah, so I would have Sudden Edicted an Emrakul. They would have Atraxa'd, found another Emrakul, and the ability to put it into play. The illusion of choice. GG's. I've got a bit of a tough opening hand here. I can play a turn 1 Douthie Voidwalker and utilize 1 Chrome Mox. This is essentially this 6-card hand. It's kind of whatever. I think I keep this. I'm just like not super happy about it. Great Wraith. Okay. So are we playing against Doomsday or Shadow? I think I start by playing 1 Dazable Chrome Mox. Plan failed. Enough out goes under. Play this. I still think I just attempted Douthie Voidwalker on turn 1. Gotten movement from my opponent. Okay, it is Shadow. and a Brainstorm in response. I feel like this logo is a little bit too big, or I moved positions in between rounds. It's a bit better. All right, the Voidwalker is in play. So this is a relatively swift clock. And hopefully this is going to keep something like a Murktide Regent from getting into play. Death Shadow. A second Death Shadow. Okay. Alice is one turn too late here. What's in exile? Nothing that matters, right? Nothing that matters. And that happens to be a colorless card, which is pretty brutal for me. It's really... Is there any world where I play Chalice this turn rather than putting this into my hand? I don't think so. Maybe, though. My attack is so awkward. I think I am gonna do this. Hate this. My snuff outs in game 1 don't kill Death Shadows, which is such a huge fucking deal. Alright. Yep. Pick 12. That is not going to help me out. Not happening. Alright. Sudden Edicts in. Snuff outs out. I could consider playing Leyline to help with ancillary threats like Murktide Regent, but I don't think that's my plan. I think I'm just not, like, super well suited for this matchup, honestly. Okay, this does not have enough starting mana. This is fucking awkward. Turn 1, Heartless summoning, turn 2, initiative creature. Sudden Edict back up, and I get to put the Archon back into the deck to hit it later. Is not the best for me. There's a lot of self-damage in a matchup where my opponent can hit me for large numbers. Very soft to a counterspell here. Also very soft to a wasteland, honestly. Yep. Fuck. This is only creature spells, so I'm not locked out of this game, but I'm in a horrible position. Until I top deck a land, I have nothing. Even if I do top deck the land, I still need the Passageway Seer to resolve. Alright. Alice is out. Ooh. I imagine this game is now effectively over. Yeah. Thanks, deck. Very cool. Alright. Let's play something that kills me. That doesn't kill me, but that is a pain in the ass. Makes it so much less likely that I can actually just Gyruda as a way to get myself back into this game. An actual factual fair preordain. And now starting to get into Death Shadow range. Yep. Cool. Yeah. That just immediately gets wastelanded. I still do it. It just fucking sucks for me. That takes out a Death Shadow. And now my opponent just gets to wasteland me and start finding other ways to lower their life total. You know, a Reanimator or whatever. Signal Street Wraith. I think as soon as my opponent puts another threat into play, I'm comfortable conceding. This is just not happening from here. Initial mulligan was rough and had some problems, and they were exacerbated by Wasteland Thoughtseize him. Yep. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. We can stop. Move on to the next round. Okay. I think I keep this. I don't know. Like, this hand isn't fast, but it has 2 pieces of gas, can put a Gyruda in a hand, and it's on the draw, so I get another card to work with as well. Alright, I'm immediately scared. My hand... Oh, I'm less... Okay, this is going to be an initiative deck. Okay. That could have been much worse, honestly. In case you're not familiar with this one, essentially my opponent names a card, and then it costs 2 more to cast or activate its ability. They don't have to pick something from my hand, they just get to look at my hand. Okay, they are naming my initiative card here. Sure, that means I get to Dalthy Voidwalker on turn 2. Alright. Do you have a follow-up threat? No follow-up threat. That's an annoying draw. So now I get to play something that gets to start clocking my opponent back. My opponent very much is ahead on tempo, but they are choked on mana. I just get to Gyruda next turn. That is fine with me. I will attack back for my 3. My opponent to 17. Put Gyruda into my hand. And I think I'm fine playing it out this way. I tap Ancient Tomb twice, because I think Gyruda hitting play just effectively ends the game. Another Archon. I don't really want that. Alright. There's Gyruda. That can find me Passageway Seer. I think the lifelink is really good right now. Grab a Swamp. Attack for 3. Opponent goes to 14. I get to start scaling up Passageway Seer. And I'm good from there. I think my opponent should have mulliganed their hand. I don't think that was a strong enough 6-card hand. Alright, I probably want 4 Sudden Edicts. I probably do not want Chalice of the Void. I don't think any of the other stuff is really worth considering. Heartless Summoning plus Turok, slightly awkward here. I think this hand is a keep, though. I think Snuff Out for my opponent's first creature plus a pro-white creature is totally fine. My mana base isn't really disruptible via something like an Archon. This hand, though, is admittedly quite bad versus Caracas. My opponent is on 5. Fuck you. Ugh. Okay. The plan has changed a little bit. Now becomes like a Heartless summoning Gyruda hand instead. Yes. I will just snuff that out immediately. And then my opponent is going to take my Heartless summoning, fortunately. Yep, so this now costs 2 more to cast. It's obviously a shame given that draw. So, Turok is now kind of a weird Rishadan port, where my opponent taps their Caracas to bounce this, or I hit them for 2. Alright. How are you feeling? Do you want to take 2 damage? You do not want to take 2 damage. Next turn I'm just playing Passageway Seer. I think rather than put Gyruda to my hand... Well, maybe I do just put Gyruda to my hand. No, I'm gonna keep playing out the Turok. Like, I will have time to do Gyruda stuff later. And beginning next turn, Turok has more text anyway, and can become kicked. So my opponent might not want to bounce this. Yeah. Okay, they did not want to immediately bounce it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start initiative stuff. I'll grab a Swamp. There's some very specific sequences of cards that can be awkward here. Okay, sure. Touch the Spirit Realm as follow-up. Touch the Spirit Realm as follow-up. Okay. That's annoying for me. Because my opponent can take the initiative and get another land drop. But I don't know how big of a problem that really is at the end of the day. Because I just have Gyruda coming. And my opponent's Caracas is just kind of continuously tapped forever. Not great for me, though. Second Turok is weird. Alright. Send that on in. Oh, are they going to let me hit? Ooh. Gonna let me hit. I just want to scry. Forge is awkward. I think I'm just gonna scry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next turn I have a... I can do 4 mana Heartless Summoning. Really doesn't quite work with that. I can play Heartless Summoning this turn, and then just play Archon of Cruelty after Archon of Cruelty. Is probably fine. Sure. This does make my 2 copies of Turok slightly more awkward. Alright, my opponent opting not to bounce the Turok. I eat 3 damage. They will presumably forge up that Solitude. That is indeed their plan. Alright. That's not what they're probably looking for. That's fine. I first see if they would like to bounce my Turok. They would. Second main phase. Basic lands are good, by the way. 6 mana Archon of Cruelty by Archon of Emeria. Gain a little bit of extra life, and the Solitude is not that big of a deal here. I am about to gain a tremendous amount of life. Like, I will end my own turn at a higher life total than I am at right now. That is not actually a problem. Swords to Plowshares would be a problem if that's my opponent's final card, though. So, send in with Archon. Opponent dumps their final card. Alright, I will take the initiative. Going to stash. I will play a second Archon of Cruelty. Trigger happens again. And on my opponent's turn, I was at 10. Now I'm at 11. I am more than comfortable using a Chrome Mox here. And imprinting one of these legendary creatures. And we'll drop an extra Dalthy Voidwalker. Hello and good luck. I guess you could draw an initiative creature and Throne of the Dead 3 into something incredibly impressive, but otherwise I think we've just got it here. And that's good enough for a positive finish. All right, so we've made it to the end of the league here, and this was a lot of fun. Overall thoughts on the deck list. This is really cool deck design. It's not like the deck design is perfect, because like your Heartless summoning always kills your Turok Dread Canters if the Heartless summoning is out first. So like maybe that's a non-bow that needs to be addressed, but at the same time, like pro-white creatures are good with all the white-based control decks that are around right now, and initiative still somewhat being a thing, so I can understand its presence in the deck list. I love that there is a somewhat viable Gyruda deck in the format now. That's super cool. It felt like there was a weakness to Karakas in this final round here, because like I drew multiple Turoks and Sheldreds, but like there's 4 legendary creatures in the main deck plus Gyruda, so I don't know that that is actually the case. This one gets a thumbs up for me. I like this a lot and would be willing to experiment with it more. If I were going to adjust anything, I think I'd maybe think about putting Plague Engineer into the deck list somewhere. This deck isn't super good at things that can against things that can go wide of it. And I don't know that I can get away with running something like a Toxic Deluge in this deck that already deals a decent amount of damage to itself with Snuff Outs and Ancient Tombs. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!